just get me down. I'll just stay right here. Um, Try not to die.
All right, so that character right there, Miles Mackenzie. I think that was kind of like the first big red flag that most like press, reviewers, etc. kind of had or talked about Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. I feel like once Miles Mackenzie was introduced to, the previews and stuff like that, everyone's kind of reception of Metroid Prime 4 Beyond before it even released dropped like exponentially, right? For better or for worse. With that being said, in this video, I kind of want to talk about my experiences with the NPCs of this game, why I don't think they're that bad, why I think they've kind of been blown way out of proportion, and just kind of my overall thoughts about that. This isn't a review or anything of Metroid Prime 4. I'm still playing the game. I'm like, I want to say 2/3 of the way there. I'm almost done with it. But yeah, so do me a favor, like the video, subscribe. Oh, there will also probably be some spoilers, like light stuff. All of this stuff is gameplay from like the first area, like shortly after you meet Miles McKenzie. So I wouldn't be too concerned. But yeah, pretty much if you're someone who hasn't played the game and the NPCs kind of throw you off, or you've been playing the game, you know, and you have yet to kind of experience some of the NPCs, let me know down below your guys' thoughts, etc. But with that, let's continue on with this video. So another thing I want to kind of off rip preface about this is I'm not a Metroid Prime, big fan, right? I played Metroid Prime Remastered back on Nintendo Switch. I liked it for what it was, but I don't think I loved it the way a lot of people heralded it as like one of the greatest games of all time. I don't think it was bad though. It was good, right? Review on the channel if you guys want to go back there and watch it, etc. That being said, I never played Metroid Prime 2. I never played Metroid Prime 3. So this is the second Metroid Prime game I've ever played. As far as 2D Metroidvania games, I play an F ton amount of those, right? From, the Metroid series, Castlevania, Hollow Knight, Ori, etc., etc. So I play a lot of Metroidvanias in a 2D style. So as far as 3D, not, my bag, right? So, but I understand the isolation aspect. I understand how Metroid, thrives in this environment that makes you feel lonely and that you're the only person out here. And that's like the danger of what Samus is facing, right? There's no one here to help her. It's her and she has to do this. And that's always cool and that's always amazing. And I'm not going to take that away from what I think a lot of, the hardcore fans love about this. With that being said, Miles McKenzie, a lot of people kind of will say he's a very annoying character. They don't like him. He kind of takes away the seriousness of this game, etc. I guess for me, as someone who, isn't a huge Metroid Prime fan particularly, I kind of really like the Miles McKenzie character. Not that I think he's an amazing character or that like he needs to have his own spin-off game or something like that. No, no, no. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is Miles McKenzie, along with a lot of the other NPCs you kind of encounter throughout this game, tend to add, I think, context to what makes this world dangerous and confusing. Um, just kind of like small, overarching storyline of basically what I understand so far of this game. There's a war going on. You're protecting this artifact. Something happens. Samus gets transported to this other like realm and gets imbued with psychic powers throughout this new world that they're not really familiar with. There's a couple other people that kind of got dragged on as well, just because they were in like close proximity to, I'm assuming, the artifact that got blasted. So you're Samus and you're alone on this planet, other world, whatever it is, and you kind of encounter these other NPCs that are all stranded in like corners of, this area, this map. Miles McKenzie being the first one you find, who is an engineer. They're not a combatant. They're not, obviously they know how to hold a gun, but they're not designed to be on the battlefield like this. So them running into Samus, obviously super excited to see her because obviously, the legends, you hear the stories. I kind of, you know, I kind of compare Samus in this game to like Sephiroth in like if you play like Final Fantasy 7 or something like that, the way like he's heralded as like a hero, obviously before he goes crazy and stuff like that. But Samus is kind of heralded as this hero, this like, obviously has taken down crazy enemies, has saved planets before, like single handedly. So yeah, I would be relieved if I was Miles Mackenzie and this is the warrior that I come across, right? I'd be, ecstatic that they're here to probably save the day, That's what they do. As far as like their interruptions in the game, I'm gonna be honest, like I'm what 8 hours in the game. Very they don't really talk that much. There's a small area that like when you meet them and they kind of talk and have their stuff that they're saying. I honestly for the most part just ignore them and keep pushing through the game. But beyond that, there's not a whole lot of them talking. Sure, like when you're on the desert, sometimes they'll kind of like chime in and say, "Hey, you should be headed over here" or something like that, which is whatever. But it's not like they blab on and on and on. It's not like they're consistently talking. Really, their impact on the game is very minuscule. They're just kind of there, and I don't know. It's not as bothersome as I think a lot of people made it out to seem. I know a lot of reviewers kind of said that it takes away from the loneliness. Again, for me, Miles McKenzie plus all the other NPCs that I encounter so far have just been like context. Like they've been able to kind of ground everything in reality, and it makes everything Samus does seem even cooler in my opinion. Because I think if you played some of the other Metroid games, you would kind of assume that all these people on the from the Federation are like cracked. You'd kind of assume they're all amazing. And meeting other people who are part of the Federation not be as skilled as Samus is, they're not these crazy bounty hunters. They're engineers or regular soldiers, et cetera, et cetera. It kind of just adds, gravity to the situation. Samus is the only person on this planet still who has the skill to save everybody here, right? Which is true in pretty much almost every Metroid game. With that being said, seeing the context of regular people next to Samus just makes her seem that much more badass, right? At least for me. It's kind of like when you see a tall person, like they're tall, but then when you see them next to a regular person, you're like, "Holy hell, you are really tall." So like for me, that's me when I play this game. When I'm Samus and you can take out most of the enemies, et cetera, and all the NPCs struggle to take down even one, like yeah, that adds context to me. When Samus has all these cool abilities and this really cool suit, etc. Yeah, that just adds to her legend. That adds to her lore. Are all the NPCs amazing? No, but I think most of them are pretty well written. I think the biggest issue with the NPCs is I think the way Samus engages with them. Like, I don't think anything that any of the NPCs say are, I think, out of the realm of what a regular person would say if they ran into Samus in this situation, right? Most of them are happy to see her. Most of them try to help her as best as they can, but ultimately they all sideline themselves. They all know like, hey, we're just gonna drag you down, so we just kind of sideline ourselves. So again, all that stuff makes sense. The thing that is weird is that Samus has like no body language or like communicating. She's just kind of like a stiff robot and just kind of like presses buttons when they tell her to. And I think that's what makes it weird is a juxtaposition of like I think if they just gave Samus a voice, then and lines, then it would make more sense. She would be able to engage with them and back and forth with them. But I don't know. Maybe the budget wasn't there. I don't freaking know. But ultimately, the NPCs themselves, I don't think are issues. I actually think help this game for me. They help me feel like there's this groundbreaking situation that's going on, and like Samus has to save him. I just kind of wish they gave Samus a voice and lines to help, add a back and forth to these characters. At least the only way like I can contextualize it sometimes when I play this game to make it not be weird is everyone when they talk they're like they take off their helmets or something like that or they open up their masks so they can speak better. And Samus, I in my head, the lore that I've built is that Samus can't do that. That her suit is attached to her helmet in a way that she can't speak easily to them, so she just chooses not to. That's what I've put into my lore to make myself digest this better. But ultimately, again, I don't know if that's the case. Um, but yeah, I just kind of want to make this video to like shout out that one, I don't think the NPCs are bad. I actually think some of them are really good characters. Personally, I actually think Miles McKenzie is a good character. I think if I was stuck in the middle of nowhere and I don't know how the hell I got there, I'd be way more useless than Miles McKenzie is. And you can say, well, it kind of breaks the submersion, et cetera. But I'm gonna be honest, like they're not key roles in this storyline. So if you were thinking about buying this game and you hear about the NPCs and that maybe is a deterrent for you to buy this game, I would say, I'm gonna be honest, that's probably not the reason why you're not gonna like this game. So I wouldn't be scared of that. Anyways, I'm gonna just leave the video like that. Those are my thoughts on it. Let me know down below what you guys think and have yourself a nice day.